Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Fitness Force Show. I'm your coach and guide for all things fitness, Kelvin Moses, and today I have Coach Bharat with me, and together we are going to show you a simple circuit training workout. What is a circuit training workout? A circuit training workout is basically a type of exercise format wherein we try to get in as many exercises as possible with max effort within a shorter time period. So we feel that giving you this workout today is really going to energize you and give you a perspective of the work output that you can do within a very short time period. But as we stated from the last episodes, before we start, we need to get our stretching on so that we can warm up and lubricate our joints to perform well during our actual exercise period. So I'm just going to have Coach Bharat here display a couple of warm-up exercises, and then we shall proceed with our workout. Okay, so the first stretch we're going to perform is a cross body arm opener, but you can just go ahead. So we're going to warm up the shoulders and the pectoral muscles over here, basically the entire upper anterior chain. That's great. If we can get into some shoulder rotations now. Super. So this is specifically towards warming up the shoulder, the rotator cuff. That enables proper shoulder mobility and mobilization of the muscles surrounding the shoulder for movements like flexion, extension and abduction. So the next one, we're going to do a 4-point stretch. So we can just display a 4-point stretch. So we're going to go forward, lateral, and we go back. So then we hit 4 points here. So we're going to stretch the glutes, the hamstrings, your upper back. Just get the entire posterior chain involved in this. Alright, perfect. So we can now move on to the standing hip circles. So hand on the waist, and perfect. That's a good revolution. So we're good looking for revolutions and rotations of the leg along the hip and pelvic girdle. Really good. If I can just have you do a couple on the other leg. That's excellent. I'm just going to warm up the hamstring specifically now with the standing hamstring layover. Really nice. That's perfect. So we're just going to extend the entire leg forward, toes pointing up, and just work through the hamstring over here, warming up the entire posterior chain in that process. Super. So that's a great warm-up stretching routine displayed by Coach Bharat. Now that we're well lubricated and we're ready to proceed with our workout, let's get straight into it. Okay, so today we have 6 exercises for you on display that we're going to perform in this circuit training workout. Let's get straight into the mix. We are going to have each exercise placed very systematically in order of cardiorespiratory and muscular strength. And we're going to have the time difference between each exercise or the intra-rest interval really short, so that we get into succession of movements really fast, thereby promoting the actual importance of having a short workout but an effective workout nonetheless. So we can just have Coach Bharat display the first exercise, which is the jumping jack. So right now, just before we start, we want to understand what exercises we are doing and get a proper rhythm. So if you can just go on, keep doing the jumping jacks. We're just going to explain. So here, form and technique wise, we just want to separate arms and legs in accordance with each other. This is a light plyometric exercise because we have a jump action that is happening simultaneously. So simple swing of the arms all the way to the top in accordance with the leg moving out as well laterally. That's your jumping jack. That's really good. Just a couple more. Alright, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's enough. If we can have the next exercise displayed, which is a reverse lunge to high knee. That's really good. That's really good. So guys, keep in mind here, if I can just have you turn laterally. Excellent. Yeah, you can go ahead. So as you can see, we're focusing more on that lunge where we drop a single leg back. This is actually called a lunge pattern. So a reverse lunge is where you're standing in a static and you're moving back into the lunge, so that there's dominance on the quad and the glute here. Hands can be placed either on the waist or in front. Doesn't really matter as long as you're promoting stability at the pelvis and there's uniformity and there's no instability there. Super. And we're going to end the movement with a high knee, which is just lifting the knee to the pelvis line or a little bit above. For those of you that have a lack of hip mobility, something as far as this much is perfectly acceptable, or you can go higher. It completely depends on how flexible you are. Okay, so for the third movement, I'm just going to have Coach Bharat lay down on the ground on his stomach. This movement is called the alternating Superman. So we're going to have his leg and hand contralateral to each other, coming up simultaneously. So this is going to also work on his anterior oblique sling, because we're having alternate muscles work. If you could just display a couple of reps for me. So as you can see, you have his left leg and right hand, or his right leg and his left hand coming up simultaneously. That's really good. If I can just have you do a couple more. Excellent. Keep in mind guys, when lifting up the leg and hand together, that is when you would inhale, and when you take both of them down simultaneously, you would want to exhale. That's your breathing pattern for this movement. Alright, that's really good. We can have a V hold. The V hold is our fourth exercise. So Bharat, if you can just display the V hold. So we're going to have him lie at a semi-lean, so that he's already having tension on his abdominals. From here, keeping that core stability, he's just going to extend his hands out straight isometrically and have his legs on the ground. The entire intention of having this movement is to focus more on tensing the abdominals, which is why we incorporate the lean. That's perfect. If I can have you switch into a plank position for our fifth exercise, which is the plank hip dip. So in this position, as you can see, his entire body is placed in a plank position, which is an isometric movement. He's driving stability to keep his body disciplined in this position through his core muscles, or all the muscles that are surrounding his spine. So he's actually contracting his glutes, his pecs, and his upper back muscles, all inclusive. Of course, all other muscles are working simultaneously, but these are the muscles that are working more predominantly to produce this kind of stability. And now I want you to move into the hip dip. So we're just going to move side to side. This is the exercise pattern that we're aiming to complete within this movement. So simple enough, you're just dropping your hip and dissociating it side to side, creating an alternative pattern. So by doing this simultaneously, you're working on your oblique muscles, which are two of the main important muscles that your midsection consists of, your internal and external obliques. Just a couple more. That's super. That's super. Okay. Okay. And the last exercise for this circuit round is, if you just lie on your back. This, guys, is called the scissor kick, or scissor slides as it's commonly known. So very simple. Lying on your back, you have the abdominals and your core squeezed in, palms to the side, resting easy. The focus here is entirely going to be on your abdominals. When you have your legs raised above the ground and you're just crossing them over, this is going to create tension within the midsection, and that is what the entire intention of this exercise is. Perfect. So Bharat, I can just have you standing up again. So guys, this was the display of each of the exercises for form and technique, so that you guys know exactly how to perform these exercises without risking injury and getting the max effectiveness of each exercise in this circuit. Because we're performing this exercise routine at a pace that may not be comfortable for you, what we need to be assured of is that if you are a beginner or intermediate person doing this workout routine, time the rest intervals to your comfort. It is not a competition. The only competition that you have is against yourself. please be sure that if you have any cardiac problems or you have any medication that you're on that prevents you from adapting to these short rest intervals, please be careful, and you can interchange the rest intervals as you feel, as long as you get the work done. Keeping that in mind, we are going to be doing 20 repetitions of each of these exercises. So without further ado, let's get straight to the exercise routine. I'm going to have Coach Bharat run us through an entire round of all of these exercises performed, 20 repetitions each with minimal rest to complete a single round of this circuit workout. So let's get straight into it. If I can have you perform 20 reps of the jumping jacks, and go. Keeping an even tempo. For those of you that can't actually do it to this pace, it's fine. As long as you're getting 20 reps in, it's good. Go at a pace that is comfortable for you. It's all about the work ethic and getting the job done. If you move the reverse lunge to high knee. So with exercises like this where it's done on one leg, the rep range for 20 will be divided 10 on each leg. That's excellent. Keep a nominal pace. Really good, guys. Remember, we want to establish a comfort zone when it comes to form and technique, but we also want it to be uncomfortable for us when we do the actual exercise, because anything that's comfortable will not actually push us to give our best. That's fantastic. Keep your waist tight in. Really good, really good. As I said, you can keep switching hand positions from the waist, the top, doesn't really matter as long as you're comfortable and you can maintain uniformity in the midsection. Moving on to our third one, we have the alternating Superman. I don't know if you all are noticing, but the rest interval between each exercise is pretty much negligible, because we want to keep our heart rate up while performing these exercises. The exercises are tailored to not be too extensive, not too intensive to the person, but rather be just enough to get a good cardiorespiratory rate running and to also get a good muscle stimulus. That's really good. That's perfect form on the alternating Superman. So you can notice his back is arched perfectly, so that there's no lower back strain happening here. There's rather targeting of the lower back muscles, which are two things that people usually get wrong. They normally always overextend that spine and it hurts them by causing pain in their lower back or their erector region. Okay, move on to the fourth one. Perfect. This is a 20-second V hold. For those of you that want to progress this movement, you all can also do this movement by lifting your legs up, but this is a pace regression. It's as effective, so you don't need to find it difficult enough and progress it further. That's really good. That's really good. Yep, that's perfect. That's 20 seconds on the clock. If you could switch to the next one, which is the plank hip dip. So get into an isometric position, back placed evenly, and dissociation of the hips, really good. What we want to aim for here is not to actually move the upper body, but just to dissociate the hips so that we get really good twisting on the torso. That's excellent. Neutral head position. Keep your breathing pattern strong. You will be inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the twist. Really good. That's really nice. Excellent. 20 of these would really start to give you a burn in your midsection. Finishing off with the last one, we're going into the scissor slides or scissor kicks. Neutral position of the palms, high position of the legs. We're really going to engage that midsection. That's really good. As slowly as you can in terms of the crossovers, because we really want to keep that tension elongated for a longer period of time, because that tension actually leads to stress in the muscle that we're targeting, which leads inadvertently to the muscle working harder and thereby getting bigger, better and stronger. That's really good. Perfect. If I can have you rise up. So everybody, that was round 1 of each of the 6 exercises done for 20 repetitions or 20 seconds in regard to that hold. This entire round will have to be repeated 2 more times. If you're a beginner or intermediate, you can range between 1 to 2 rounds. If you're an advanced, you can range between 3 to 4 rounds. It completely depends upon you and where you are in terms of your exercise training age and stamina levels. We're going to take a 1 minute break, and I'm going to see you for round 2, where we'll perform the same set of exercises once again, 20 reps each. Catch you then. Okay everybody, I hope you've hydrated well and you've rested well. We have 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. That's your 1 minute of rest. Let's start back with the jumping jacks. 20 repetitions on the clock. Let's get to it. Okay everybody, We're coming to the end of another minute worth of your rest. Hope you guys are drinking enough water, hydrating and resting, because we're going to get into our third and final round of this circuit training regime, starting with the jumping jacks. So we have 10 seconds left on the clock. We start our jumping jacks in 3, 2, 1 and begin. Okay everybody, I'm sure that was a very intense third round, but just before we end this workout, we are going to perform a couple of cool down stretches, which I told you is very important for cooling down the muscles that you warmed up and intensively exercised during this routine. So just going to have Coach Bharat display a couple of cool down exercises that are going to help you recuperate and cool down those muscles that you've trained. So we can have the first stretch, the wrist mobility. A lot of the movements that you would have done would have tensed up your wrists, so we're just going to open up those wrists and just free them of the strain. 10 rotations clockwise and 10 rotations anti-clockwise would be perfect. Okay, move on to the next one, the cross body shoulder. Excellent. So just opening out the deltoid and stretching it laterally here. And switch. Moving on to the next one, we're going to move for lower body. We can go for a standing knee pull. Super. For those of you that can't manage to stand in one place and pull due to a lack of balance, you can always use support against a wall or an object that can assist you in getting this stretch, and you can just pull with one arm. Moving on to the next one, we go for a hamstring opener. Excellent, excellent. We're going to include a toe pull as well, so we get the hamstring and the toe open as well. So by doing this, by actually opening out the toe and pushing it and pulling it in the same format, you actually open up the calf muscle as well, which is the lower posterior muscle over here. Perfect. So with that isometric extension, we have stretched the lower body. And we finish off with the hip flexion deep lunge. This is just to resort any tension that is accumulated in the hips through the movements that we have performed. For those of you that suffer with lower back pain or suffer with any tightness in your hips that go against normal walking posture or your gait cycle, as it's called in patterning terms, this exercise will be really good to help you mobilize your hips, especially tightness between your pelvis. That's perfect. You just stand up. If you can just give me a whole body reach, so you reach all the way to the top and to the bottom, just opening out the entire diaphragm, your rib cage. So this actually stretches the entire anterior half. You could just perform the up half again. Opens the chest, opens the midsection, your shoulders, your upper back, and then when we get into the posterior half of it, you have your glutes, your hamstring, your calves, and your lower back erectors that are being stretched here. That's perfect. Sometimes we just take position. Perfect. So guys, that was the entire circuit training workout and your stretching routine to cool you down. I hope that you guys had fun. I know I'm having a ton of fun educating you guys on the benefits of these exercises and getting you fitter. Speaking of which, I'm going to see you in episode number 5 of this program of Fitness First. Until then, stay safe, stay fit, and stay healthy.